So hopefully now you've taken it upon yourself to meet the other people here. You're going to be doing a lot of exercises together. And really it's up to you guys to make this a group experience is another big thing, okay? So we've kind of laid down the framework in the introduction of what it is that we want to accomplish here together. And what I want to do first is I want you to be thinking about confidence. And confidence, a lot of people will say it comes from within, and I agree with that. I agree wholeheartedly with that. But let me ask you this. Even if you didn't have a lot of self-love or internal value, if you just knew how to go talk to whoever you want, would that raise your confidence? Yes. Okay, so a part of it, 50%, is internal change. Easily half, could be even 80%, I don't know. But there's another aspect where I can remember when I would first be meeting people and I just really wouldn't know how to talk. And it drove me crazy and it crushed my confidence and it made me feel worthless. Now, funny enough, I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of people that are not very high value in general. They don't really have a lot to offer society, but they're just really good at talking. And for that reason, they can make their lives a lot better. So I want to start to unravel that for you and show you a couple different ways that I do improvisational speaking, okay? So it's funny when you mention this too, this idea of improvisational speaking, because on my way over here, a buddy of mine, one of my new interns, he actually called it Uber. And I said, listen, man, don't call the Uber for me. I want to call it. And he said, no, I want to call it. And I was like, no, I want to call it. It's funny, like the culture that we create within our organization, people want to be givers. I thought that was very, very powerful. And seeing that in him, I felt conflicted because on one level, I want him to have the opportunity to call that Uber so that he can give and he can benefit. But on another level, I don't think it's appropriate for me to let him do that. And I thought, that's kind of a funny thing. I said, hey man, look, you called it yesterday. I don't want to do that again today. Please let me call it. But then I tried to think of something that he could maybe do to contribute, right? So I'm like, here, you can carry my bag. I feel almost ridiculous getting him to carry my bag, but I don't know what else to do, right? I'm sort of on the fence about it. It's kind of a personal issue that I have. I've got to figure this out, right? Some things in life we can't fully figure out. And then I hopped into the Uber, and we're driving over here. And that was another funny thing I can't figure out because the drive here is about 15 minutes. But the walk here is about 15 minutes. You ever had that weird conflict where the drive's 15 minutes and the walk is 15 minutes? Now, in my case, I don't necessarily want to come here, arrive covered in sweat and, kind of panting. But on the other hand, you really should walk. So that was sort of another question. I thought it was funny that we had two different questions. One question being, do I let him call the Uber or not? The other being, do I walk here or not? Then as I walk in here, I have even another funny question because you guys will come talk to me, and part of me thinks I want to talk to you and answer your individual questions the entire time, but then I also know that whenever I'm talking to you, I'm taking away from me that I could be in front of the crowd. So that's another question, right? So when you look at that, life has all these funny little questions, and there's no right or wrong answer to it. Now, what I just said about those three questions, I just completely made up out of nowhere. That's not canned. That's not me preparing it. That's not something I've said before. Did it look like that could be a polished bit from a seminar when you heard it? Yes. Okay. Now, I could take it to other levels because I could be saying, what I'm talking about, I could say, then he said, you know what, I've got to call the Uber. And I said, no, you can carry the bag. And then I handed him the bag. I picked up the bag, pulled it up. I could feel my shoulder muscle contracting. I could feel my forearm muscle contracting. I could feel my arm extending, and I could extend my arm ever so slightly with the bag, holding it, moving the bag as I watched the bag, millimeter by millimeter, moving towards my intern as his hand returned to mine, picking up his large, manly frame and moving his hand towards it, and me feeling the weight begin to shift from my hand as my wrist slowly moves down, as each finger, the pinky finger, known for the pimp ring, the ring finger, known for the marriage ring, the middle finger, known both in pimping and in marriage for certain purposes, the pointing finger, which can be used to make an accusation or to simply direct someone of what to do, or to wag in a moralistic way. Nya, 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 you naughty little person. Nya, nya, nya. Right? and handing it to him. And he picked it up and he grabbed the bag and gallantly threw the bag on his back and said, I've got this bag, Owen. Okay, now look how much I can extend even something like me handing a bag. How would most people say that? First of all, they're up here. You couldn't even hear them probably. They'd have no brightness in the eye. We'll get to that later. And then they'd say, hand him the bag. I go, okay, draw it out. They go, hand the guy the bag. Yeah, but draw it out a little bit. Add something to it. Move my arm out. He took the bag. Well, how did you feel about it? Did you feel did you feel the inner conflict between carrying it yourself or taking away the opportunity from him? Kind of, yeah. Right, you see what happens, right? So that's why people struggle with speaking. So say that you say, you're going to go meet someone and talk to them. They're like, hey. And the tricky part is they kind of, like, the level they're operating on is one of need. Say they're meeting someone they're attracted to. They probably just want to hook up with them. That's really all what they want. Like, I just want to hook up. Well, yeah, but you've got to bring more to the table. Show your true self. I kind of just like, my true self just kind of like want to hook up, right? Like, so how do I do that, right? So they're not really bringing a lot of energy, and they think people should just meet their needs. They just want their needs met. I've got kids. I remember the other day, my kid, he wants to come up to my office where there's computers so that he can watch computers because his mom won't let him watch very much computer. So that's like his main thing he wants. And, he's like, Daddy, when are we going? When are we going? He's 7 years old. I said, Dylan, why don't you ask me how I'm doing, or say to me, if it's taking me an extra minute, why don't you say, hey, Dad, if it's taking you an extra minute, is there anything I can do to help? And you could see that literally flustered him. It really, really flustered him because he just wants to go play the computer. Now he's 7 years old, right? Well, unfortunately, for most of us, we don't grow out of that. We're still operating at that paradigm because we're in coping, and like, now we'll hide it. Really, we're just like that. Like, we just want the thing we want, but we'll kind of like pretend, like, we'll pretend that we're not like that, to be civil, but we're really like that. Unfortunately, that's an okay mindset for a child. He already, by the way, is like really growing up quick. He's, helping his brothers, and he's totally on another level, but I still want to keep moving that forward for him. I want him to operate on a totally different level and to be thriving. So I don't care what he does in life, but I want him to thrive at whatever he does. So if we think about that for a minute, how can we begin to learn how to stretch out the way that we talk? How can we offer more? Well, the first distinction I'm going to make with you, as far as being able to talk improvisationally, is you need to understand that people are more hooked on the tone, the tone and the certainty and the cadence and the projection and the energy than the actual content itself. That's your first understanding that you need to get. So once you begin to understand that, and you realize that there's all these nonverbal communications that are going on, you realize the actual words are relatively unimportant. You should be able to talk about a simple bottle of water, and like, do you guys, you don't want to challenge me on this, because I will do it, because I have. If you tell me talk for 1 hour in a compelling way about this bottle of water, 100% I will crush it. I did in Seattle. Someone challenged me. I talk about Birkenstocks for an hour. You do not want to challenge me on this, okay? I will literally show you so many, I will sing about it. I will whisper about it. I will cry about the Birkenstock or the water. I will make analogies. I'll talk about where it's from, the cultural implications, the styles of it, the different mindsets of people that might want to wear it. I'll talk about it quickly in staccato. I'll slow down. I'll be emotional. I'll be heart-wrenching. I'll be funny. I'll crack jokes. I'll go into every single last possibility that you can over that one bottle of water. Meanwhile, when I teach dating content, guys will say, just teach me what to do. What do I say? Because they're in that mode of, Carter just want to hook up. Just tell me a thing to say so I can just make the thing happen. They're not wanting to bring a lot of value to the situation. What I'm trying to show you how to do is think about different elements of your personality that are in there, and then adapt that to the bottle of water, or adapt that to the Birkenstock or whatever it is, so that you can talk unlimited, okay? Better yet is when you can just vibe and free associate and come up with all sorts of random stuff and just create an energy. By the way, vibing is such a powerful thing because it's really a pure form of energy creation. By the way, I so know I'm going to fall at least one time so bad this weekend, so you're warned. I don't mind falling from this height. I literally think we need to put like kids' mats down here. Like, I'm looking at this like, oh, I waited for like my passion point. I'm like, and then, if you're right, I'm just going to fall over. Let's see how we do. But anyway, so you get the main idea here, right, is that you want to actually have delved into your personality and think about what's there, And then from there, you want to learn how to give more on any topic and create energy. It's really about creating energy together, okay? Like, you should be able to talk about your fingernail and look at your fingernail and see it and just draw that out into a 30-minute conversation, just your fingernail. Now, that sounds crazy. Why is that crazy? Think of all the things that you could be covering on that. You could be covering how it's like a little piece of bone growing through your finger. You could talk about your fingernails compared to other animals' fingernails and how this is like a pretty cool fingernail and how it would like stop it from getting, you know, like say that you get hit in your finger, it's meant to block it. You could talk about how in evolution, we don't go beyond what we need, so it protects us from regular day-to-day life, but in a certain incident, it might not be enough protection, and then it would crack even more, how it would grow back, how it could be split, the little blue that it gets under it when it does split, what it could look like when you manicure it, should you manicure it, should you not manicure it, right? Say that you're a guy, is that a cool thing to do? Is it kind of like, is it too metro for you? What are the pros and cons of that? What do people think of grooming? What do they think of ruggedness? Get into that whole subject. You could talk about scratching someone's back during intimacy and how fingernails could play in there. You could talk about incidents where you didn't get your fingernails and, you know, like maybe you took a lot of supplements that month, like in my case, and then your fingernails grew abnormally quickly because you're getting healthier. They grew abnormally quickly. Then you're doing, you know, you're out meeting people and you're like, my fingers are really long. You like scratch somebody, you know, you're doing whatever you're doing. You scratch whatever you scratch. That hasn't happened yet, but you never know, right? You could talk about when you clip it at a certain way, maybe it gets a bit sharp, how you have to kind of buffer it down. You could talk about how certain people take great care of their fingernails. Some people notice it, some people don't. You could talk about how you feel about just having like just general functions in life, different aspects of your body, how that correlates to the strangeness of fingernails, the different philosophy of human existence. We have hair, we have nails, we have eyebrows, we have eyes, we have, you know, these little bone things growing out. There's like a color to it. What is the color? Is it translucent? Is it white? What is the little line, you know, over the fingernail? When you touch it, how do you feel? I mean, you could go on and on and on. Everything I just covered there, you could turn it into 2 hours. You can absolutely do it. Now, I know the feeling of that blank page, that dread of the blank page. Let me tell you how I know I think we could all relate with this. When I was learning polynomial factoring or trinomial factoring in math when I'm in high school, I'm doing it now, okay? When I was learning that in high school, but this one is a real one, but it sounds like one of my improvised ones. It's all kind of both. But when I would do that, I remember I could watch the teacher up on the chalkboard breaking down trinomial factoring. I could do it, I could see it, and I could understand it when they're doing it. Just like how you are able to understand now what I'm talking about with the fingernail. You completely get it. But then when I tell you to do it, you're like, for most of us, it's going to be like, well, why can't I come up with all that stuff so easily the way that Owen does? Look, I get it. I'm a student most of the time myself. I'll go to improv class and see the improv teacher like coming up with jokes out of nowhere. I'm like, it's so cool that that improv teacher dedicated their life to this. And it shows what you could get to if you kind of put the time in to do it, right? Part of why I even do these exercises is because I enjoy teaching them so that I can get better at them. But what I'm saying here is that a couple points. A, if you want to be a social media influencer, the biggest thing these days, if you want to know the truth, is volume of content. I hate to say it, but it's kind of true. Okay? That's one aspect. So to be able to make a lot of postings with your list, you've got to be able to communicate. But remember this, most of your lists, they like you as a person. Whatever you talk about, they want to watch. I've got people who I follow that I think are awesome. Whatever they're going to talk about, I'm going to watch them. You know why? Because in my mind, through the computer screen, they're my best friend. Anybody here feel that way about different people you watch? So when you're watching that and you're creating content, just remember, a lot of people, they like your energy. They like what they're getting from you energetically, and the content is just an excuse. One great example, I think maybe one of the best ever, is Anthony Robbins. Anthony Robbins is perhaps the greatest motivator in human history. And yet, if I were to ask you right now, what are the 6 human needs? Can anybody here even name his most basic teaching? Okay, certainty, uncertainty, love, significance. You guys remember this, the 6 human needs? It's his most basic teaching. We all love Tony Robbins. Who doesn't love Tony Robbins, right? The world, he is beloved across the world, except apparently with certain factions these days that write nasty articles about him. But, you know, but aside from like, you know, because, you know, he's too positive or whatever. But the point is like, right, well, positive energy is going to attack negative detractors. But the main point being, such a positive, inspirational person, a world-class motivator. But when you watch Tony, you can't remember the 6 human needs. But you just know this. When you watch Tony, for some reason, you want to go get something done. When you watch Tony, for some reason, you want to defy the odds. You don't even know why. You just do. You're going to defy the odds. Tony Robbins even has incantations. He teaches it, Unleash the Power Within. I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember them, but I remember some. It's like, defy the odds. I'll be the voice. I'll create, not destroy. What, step up, right? Well, so do you remember any of the rest? I can't remember. They're so good. Yeah, set the standard, right? You know what's funny? When you think of, look at those basic things he teaches at UPW, his event that he does. Set the standard, be the voice, create, don't destroy. What was the other one I said? See, we can't even remember. What was the other one? I will believe and not doubt. I don't know, whatever it was, right? But what's funny is you can't even remember. Like, I've been to his event. Okay, think about that for a minute. Half of UPW is just yelling that. It's literally just like, I'm the voice, right? Like, time number 2000. I'm the voice, now jump. I'm the voice, right? And that's like, we can do that here if you want, you know, pick one, right? But what's funny, if you actually look at those incantations, like it works. I went to one of his events in 2004. My next one I went to was actually 2014. I went to UPW Later Date with Destiny. And what was funny about it was I saw those incantations from UPW 10 years later. I hadn't even thought about them. I was like, wow, I've really lived that to a very high extent compared to what I would have. This guy subconsciously programmed me. Well, what's funny is this. When you look at Anthony Robbins and you look at his energy, because bring it back to you. When you look at Anthony Robbins, you look at his energy, he embodies those things that he teaches. Like you don't even have to say it, you just feel it from him. So when he talks, you just feel that. I hope that what you feel from me is this kind of devil-may-care attitude of sort of, I guess you'd almost call it a reverence. You guys ever feel, when you see me, you feel sort of like, do you guys know the word irreverence? It means that you just have fun, just doing what you want, and you actually might even find negative feedback almost as funny. You see that? Like when you see me, can you imagine me out having, you know, some approach that I did doesn't go so well, and not only does it not bother me, but I actually kind of find it hilarious, right? And when you watch me, just from my demeanor, you probably get some of that energy, right? You know, you feel like you can kind of step up, you can beat the odds, you can do what you want, you can be who you want to be, you can express yourself, you don't need to worry what others think so much. That's a lot of what I teach. So just watching me talk, ideally, I hope you're going to be getting that vibe from me. So whatever I'm going to talk about, whether it's my drive here, whether it's about my fingernails, see, I'm talking about my fingernails, but am I really talking about my fingernails? Or is what I'm doing is I'm actually, by talking about so many aspects of the fingernails and being so expressive and being so into it and even into myself, almost like narcissistically kind of wanking it to my own fingernail story, right? I had one of the best compliments I got from a girl I'm dating. She started watching my videos. She's like, I feel like you look like you're wanking yourself off the screen. I was like, thank you. That is such a wonderful compliment, right? Self-love, right? So I remember, so when you're watching me, you're getting a piece of my energy. It doesn't matter that much what I'm talking about. So if I'm talking to somebody who I'm meeting or who I'm networking, I don't view it that it really matters what I'm talking about. If they like that energy that I have, if they think that's cool, they like that kind of energy, they're learning unconsciously, right? You're learning unconsciously from seeing me speaking to a group of people and just having the balls to even do what I do. Do you know how much like how just sort of like the audacity that I have to even like put out YouTube videos and be like, it's Owen. What we're going to talk about today is this, as if it's so awesome. And then be like, now you're going to come to hear me talk in a room and you're going to pay me, right? Like there's an audacity to that. Then I'm going to go approach all these people and they're all going to think I'm awesome. And the ones that don't, I don't care, right? There's something to that. You're like, this guy's crazy, man. What is this guy's out of his mind, right? But then you're like, I could do that. I could do that too. When you're out, say, a big one is letting go. When you can just let go and not care what people think and be yourself and just pump energy, it makes other people feel like they could also let go. That's the power behind it. They feel, I could let go too. So a lot of what you're doing, in my mind, let's say that you're going to make sales. Let's think about some of the energy that you want to show in making sales. You want to have a sense of urgency. Part of why I'm really effective at sales is that if you look at the way my energy is, not in all my speaking, but in a lot of it, particularly if I'm doing sales, I put in this crazy sense of urgency. Have you guys ever seen that? Did you guys see the first couple sales videos that I did for this event? When I do my sales video for this event, do I go, so here's some sales training for you. Do I go, hey, what's up? It's Owen. You know, really been enjoying creating the new 4-day self-help event. I think you get a lot out of it too. So if you want to sign up, just check it out. See you in there. Now, here's what's funny. There's a side of me that is like that. For any of you guys that know me outside of seminar speaking, that's what I look like a lot of the time, right? You know, you'd see me, you'd expect me to be like, what's up? Let's go. Come on, right? And I'm just like, what up? You know, you're like, Tyler. I'm like, what's up? Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to run through a wall like the Kool-Aid Man? I'm like, I'm chilling, bro. You know, right? You're like, you just look like a normal guy, right? But I know how to switch that on because if I'm speaking in a way that's hyper urgent, okay, then I make a video about it, which is a sales video. If that feeling of urgency, we need change, we need to move, we need to be bold, that's a lot more leading towards somebody putting their credit card into a sales processor than being super chill, right? I have people who I've worked with that are too chill. I've rarely seen salesmen that are ultra laid back. I know they exist. There's always an example of something. It's like the drunken kung fu master, right? Most people doing kung fu drunk, bad. But there's always that one drunken kung fu master that totally, he's going to do even better kung fu wasted because he's the drunken kung fu master. You know, there's always like that super anomaly guy that isn't sharp as a tack, right? But most great salesmen, you know who they look like? You ever seen the guy that does straight line persuasion, Jordan Belfort from the movie The Wolf of Wall Street? First thing he says in sales training is you've got to look sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. Like, you know within a millisecond, the second that video comes on, whether or not this person's worth listening to and whether or not they know their niche and what they're going to talk about. What I do, by the way, a little trick, we'll get into this later. You want a quick practical tip? When I start my videos, I give myself 3 entry points to get to being sharp as a tack. Here's what I do. Hey, what's up is entry point number 1 on the video. It's Owen is entry point number 2. The company I'm from is entry point number 3. And what we're going to talk about today is entry point number 4. This is for post-production, for editing, okay? What I'll do is when I hit the note, like when I lock in, that's where I start the video. If you watch my videos, I mean, it's pretty intense, okay? When you see it, because it looks like I'm that switched on all the time. I'm not. But if you look at it, like, look at the running start that I would gain. Okay, watch this, okay? Say we look at like just the most recent sales video. So on this one, I go in on what you're gonna, let's see what I went in on. What we're gonna be doing right now is shooting into the first. So we start at what we're gonna be doing right now. That was my starting point, watch. Okay? Now, right now, even as I'm sitting here, look how hard it is to start with that crispness in the voice. What we're gonna be doing right now, do you see how hard, try saying that, what we're gonna be doing right now. See if you can get it as crisp as I have it in the video. It's hard. I can't even do it, but I just want you to try it so you can see how hard it is. Okay, try it right now.
What we're going to be doing right now.
Right?
What we're going to be doing right now.
What we're going to be doing right now is shooting into the first preview of something that I've been building for 20 years. What we're going to be doing right now.
Now watch. Okay, pause. Okay, so watch. So watch this, okay? Watch how crisp it starts off.
Shooting into the first preview. What we're going to be doing right now.
Okay.
Shooting into the
what we're going to be doing right now, right? It's hard to get in that crisp. Sometimes I do. Usually you'll be that crisp when you're in momentum. Right now, I'm beginning to get in momentum. We're at the start of our event together. So for that reason, I'm beginning to get motoring, right? A couple hours in, I'm going to be in full swing. I'll be in full flow. So if I'm doing a video, I need a minute to get to that energy. So what I'll do is say, hey, what's up? It's Owen from RSD. And what we're going to be doing right now. At one of those 4 points, I'm going to crack in. So if I get it on, hey, what's up, I'll leave in the hey, what's up because it came in crisp. That's classic Jordan Belfort right there. Because I know, look, I'm not going to reshoot the middle point of the video over and over. And I'm not going to necessarily reshoot the end, although that is the second most important. The beginning is the most important. The end is actually the second most because it leaves the impression that the person leaves the video with. But I'll tell you, so that one I also view as high priority. But the start of the video, that's going to determine whether or not you're buying yourself a couple more seconds for people to watch it, right? Anything that you're doing in communication, you're basically just trying to buy a couple more seconds. Everything you're doing, you're using sales to get them through the first 5 seconds. You're selling them on the next 10 seconds. You're selling them on the next minute. You're selling them on the next few minutes, okay? You're selling. Why is that? Human beings, we have limited time and energy. And for that reason, we're always trying to save time and energy. So if you're not being sold on paying attention in that next bit, it's not going to work. Even the introduction that I gave you here today, that there was sales. Do you understand that? That introduction that I gave you is sales. I'm trying to get you to buy in and lock in for the next 4 days. I'm trying to sell you on the idea that paying attention for the next 4 days will help you. I mean, you need to think about this. I've got 4 days of your time and your money right now. That is a lot of resources that I'm getting for me. That is no joke. I just got the money that you gave for this is nothing. Think about the time you gave for this. What could you have made money-wise in that 4 days? Your life is a limited time span. What could you have done in that 4 days? There's so many things you could have done to not be here. Do you know how hard it is to get someone to give up that time? There's so many, think of all the videos that you could watch. You know one of the main things I do with my instructors that I do all the time? It's pretty vulgar. What I do is I load up a porn site, okay? And I leave some crazy sex scene running. And then what I do is I put their video beside it. And I say, until my staff is watching your video over this, you got to redo this. Okay? I view it, if I'm making a video, I view it like you have literally unlimited amount of adult film on the internet that people can watch for free. And they're going to watch you. They can be watching world-class athletes, political commentators, and getting themselves all riled up and angry. They could be, they could be watching a bunch of negative clickbait news to fulfill their low vibration energy needs. They could be watching something inspirational. They could be watching a Hollywood production. How are you going to get them to watch you? So there's other aspects of that. I'll get into that later. We're going to build that together. But the first one is you've just got to get it to the point where they're even going to pay attention. So I know that in that first few seconds, they're very, very liable to switch that video off. So what I'm going to do is I've got to get them through a 30-second to 90-second intro and then jump to some other jump cut. In the past, I would use infield, and then get them through that. And now what you're doing is you're adding good energy. Then what you're wanting to do is get them into a trance. And I'm not saying some crazy like super hypno trance or anything like manipulative, but you want to get them, like have you ever been even maybe watching like an infomercial like Proactive Skincare and you just don't turn it off? You ever done that? Because you're kind of in like a light level trance, you're kind of just going with the energy, maybe a music song. You want to get it to where they're just in a trance. Any of you guys here watch my videos? Do any of you here watch my videos and it's surprising to you how long you can watch? Yes. You're able to watch it longer than other people's videos? Isn't that bizarre that I can put out a 3-hour video and while there will be a couple complaints in the comments, is it too long? Which are the people that are never going to spend money with me anyway. Never. There's probably like, okay, let me ask a question. This is actually this is great feedback for me. Is there any of you in here that get annoyed when I put out long videos, but you still came to this event? So out of the room, 1, 2. Okay, so out of this full room, and sorry, apologies, but nonetheless, 2 people. Now, out of the people, by the way, as another quick side point, out of the people who watch my videos, what percent do you think get annoyed by the length? I'd say it's a high percent. They're annoyed by the length. And yet, buyers-wise, the buyers want more, okay? So I'm feeding something custom for the people that spend. Let me ask you a question. You ever watch like a guy like, say, Bill O'Reilly? Do you remember he was a conservative commentator, right? Do you guys remember him? And he made a lot of people very angry. I remember I used to watch him and I think, how is this guy okay with the fact that like half the country hates him? How's he okay with that? Do you ever wonder that about me? Because I used to wonder that about him. Probably some of you wonder that about me, right? How is Owen okay with what he does? The reason that you get okay with it is because as you zone in on the people that are paying your bills, you don't care what the other people think. Bill O'Reilly was never going to get a liberal to watch him anyway. They were never going to watch his program anyway. What does he care? They're not supporting him. Somebody that wouldn't watch my 1-hour video isn't supporting me. I don't care that it annoys them. See, they probably think I make money from YouTube ads. The only ads that we have on our videos are if it's for music. You think that our content for guys is going to get monetized on YouTube? You need to learn how YouTube works. Okay, it's hilarious that people think that. We don't get a dime from that. I don't care about their view or their sub at all. I care if they're going to become a client. So I'm going to put stuff out there for people that really want it. Again, how do I do that? Let's bring it full circle. What I'm doing is I'm coming in sharp with a certain vibe, a certain energy, and I'm lulling someone quickly out of their vibe into my vibe. This is no different than when you're meeting somebody and dating and you've got to quickly pull them in your vibe and quickly make them want more of what you have to offer. They've got to want more. You have to have, say the word energy signature. Say that with me. Energy signature. So a lot is. Part of the challenge that you had yesterday is you've been not even cultivating an energetic signature because you're afraid that you might get too much attention. So anything that would make any kind of impact, you're hiding from it, which makes you a bit of a blank slate. So that's why we're going to have to build this or zone in on the things that you're hiding, okay? But we will do it, okay? We will do it. Oh, yes. So, okay, so you get the general idea here, right? So what I'm basically doing, if you think about it, is I'm speaking with conviction, I'm using intonation, I'm using projection, I'm using energy. I'm coming in sharp as attack, and I just start talking. I realize that it doesn't matter that much what I say. When I do my free tour videos, for example, I know it doesn't matter that much what I say, because for the most part, most of the people watching it are people who just like the vibe, and they just kind of want to get recalibrated or resunk to that sort of general vibe or energy. How do I know this? Like I said, Anthony Robbins. Most of you got, like, I've literally been to almost all of his programs. I've read his huge, like, 500-page books or whatever they are, and I don't know what the 6 human needs are. If after $30,000 in personal and his programs were great. If after $30,000 in live events or whatever I paid, I'm also friends with a lot of his staff, okay? And after me reading his books, and I still don't know the 6 human needs, what does that tell you about how people really learn? They learn a lot of it through energy. So it doesn't matter that much what you say, okay? You've got to have great content, but that's just one piece of the puzzle as far as being a teacher. And as far as meeting people socially, the less you have your ideas cultivated, the better. Why? Because it's purely about the vibe. It is purely about energy. Attraction in dating, particularly, is pre-verbal. Before human beings could talk, how do we communicate? Probably through grunting, growling, little random pitches in the voice, and energy. That's why humans are evolved to feel each other's energy very much. But society trains us to condition that out of us. So what we'll do right now is we'll go into our first exercise. We've just led into this. And what I want you to do is I want you to learn how to speak in a way where you're focused on the energy and the intonation and the conviction and the vibe, but not worrying about the content. And what we need you to do is learn how to release that block in your mind, that you have to have the perfect thing to say. We've got to release that block, and we've got to get you talking and talking. What this is going to do, it's going to do a few things for you. And we're going to be, by the way, we're going to be stacking these exercises. They're going to be stacked one on top of another. So it's going to be a lot of like Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. I'm going to be getting you to do things that are a bit ridiculous. Wax on, wax off. But by the time that you combine these together, just like in the Karate Kid, he's blocking. He's like, I can't, this is crazy, right? I'm going to be getting you doing that. So these exercises are going to stack and get you doing this. And the end result is that you're going to be able to talk into a video camera. Say you want to be an ambassador for your business. Say you want to walk in and try to get a raise. Say you want to make friends with someone. Say you want to date. You're going to have unlimited things to say, but you're also going to make a major impact, okay? A major impact. So let's begin. What we're going to do right now is go into a video. Remember what I just did there. What we're going to do right now, right? What we're going to do right now is we're going to go, see, then I would start the video there. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go into an exercise where you're going to describe your drive here. Now, if your drive here was highly entertaining, we're not going to do that. Instead, pick something else, and you can pick whatever you want. But I want you to try something like your drive here, something boring. And I want you, and so you were here last time, so you probably did the drive-in, so you should pick something else. What is something boring that you could pick so that it's challenging you? Because if you're picking something awesome, that's too easy.
Flossing.
Okay, flossing. That's perfect. So, you've never done it before?
No, I do it.
No. Have you ever done flossing as this exercise?
No.
Okay, so that'll be great. So, makes me want to do it. I'm kind of jealous. So, what you're going to do right now is you're going to go into an exercise where you're going to describe whether it's flossing, whether it's your drive here, and I want you to take about 2 minutes each, and I want you to use speaking with passion, intonation, conviction, and energy, and then I want you to lower the bar of how good or relevant the information has to be. Lower the bar of how good or relevant the information has to be, okay? Lower that bar. And what'll happen is you can literally just free associate and talk about anything. Like with flossing, you know, you could talk about the feeling in the gums, the speed of flossing, the pros and cons of flossing. Do you floss before you brush, after you brush? What is the thickness of the floss? Do you want the wax on the floss? Do you want that smell on the floss? Is the smell some weird chemical that's actually hurting your teeth, or is it actually helping your teeth? Is there fluoride? Is the fluoride good for you, or does it kill brain cells? There's different debates on it. It's in the water system. How often should you floss? What happens when that time that your teeth were bleeding and you had to floss through it? What your dentist said? The way that your dentist flossing? Do you guys see what I'm going here? The way you feel about flossing? What flossing says about life in general? How the way you do one thing could be another thing. You see what I'm doing here? You can stretch this forever. It's literally unlimited. You just relate the world is so big, right? So you just keep relating everything about the world and then just keep relating it back. It creates unlimited content. Remember, in the content game these days, high frequency posting gets you more subscribers and followers. That's the way the algorithms work. Quick last side point about this. Back in the day, I created this program. It's called The Blueprint. Who here's ever seen The Blueprint? Put your hand up. Okay, I created this program called The Blueprint. Who here's ever seen Hot Seat at Home? Put your hands up. Okay, so I created these programs, right? Hot Seat at Home and The Blueprint, I spent years working on. Years and years and years. This program, I spent years and years working on. But my videos, I do off the cuff. Now, when I did The Blueprint, that was an experience where I spent 4 years on one 4-day seminar, and it was a beautiful experience making it perfect. But you want to know what I realized? In the day and age of social media, if you're spending 4 years to create one piece of content, you basically, to the regular world, you are dead. Most people think that my mentor, Mystery, doesn't teach pickup anymore. Right? He's gone now, right? Excuse me? Hello? He's doing nothing different than he did before. Why is it that before he had a website, he was a teacher, and he taught pickup? What's changed? Nothing changed. He's doing the same thing. He's still doing what he's doing. He's still around. Everyone's like, oh, he's gone. What do you mean he's gone? Did he die? I mean, at some point he will, right? But not at this moment. He's running around. How did anything change at all? But yet, what is most of your guys' opinion of my mentor? You guys think he's dead. You guys literally think this guy's dead. It's like, he doesn't spend 90% of his time making free content for me. He's dead. So what I realized at a certain point, Lil Wayne was blowing up back then. You guys remember when Lil Wayne was in every collab? So I used to like it more like Dr. Dre or Eminem, where they would craft an album, they'd write every lyric, they'd polish it down to perfection. That's who I admired. Lil Wayne, to me, was too free associative. It's like he just drink a bunch of codeine and then just start blathering, right? But the thing was, what he did was he'd go on anybody's guest star. I'm like, why is he gonna just go on any track? That's weird. Here's what he did. He was, by lowering it from a perfect 10 or a 9.8 to a solid 8 to 8.5, he was able to master the art of coming up with an 8.5 in 3 minutes, right? Eminem on one song is gonna spend, if he's putting out an album every 2-3 years, if that album has, say, 20 songs, he's spending about a month per song. 1 month per song. Lil Wayne drinks some syrup. She probably hurt his health very badly, he has health issues, but he drinks the syrup. He lets the other guest star, the person he's guest starring on, make the beat, do the distribution. He was guest starring on everything, right? Now, his rap might not have been quite, now it's arguable, you might like his rap better than Eminem, but his rap might have not been better than, say, Eminem, who spent a whole entire month or 2 months on a song, but it was still very good, depending on your taste, but to a lot of people, very good. That's undeniable. Popular, right? So then what happened was he was able to be out there all the time. So Eminem's been gone. Eminem's been dead for 3 years. Lil Wayne is omnipresent. You can't, literally every channel, it's Lil Wayne on this guy's song, Lil Wayne on that guy's song. Then he goes and puts out the Carter 3, blows up. Carter 4, almost as good. Then he had a label dispute. That's the problem with the Scissorp, being all whacked out, him and his boss, right? The Birdman. They had their challenges, okay? Say no to drugs, kids. But they had a great run. What's going on there? It was the frequency of release. Learning how to master improvisational speaking means that when you do your social media, you can put out a solid 8.5 every day of the week if you want. Now, if you want to do a 10, I've done a 10. It's called The Blueprint. It's called Hot Seat at Home. It's called This Seminar. This seminar is going to be a 10 to me. But what I'm saying is, how long did it take to make this? I can't make something like this every day because this has so many iterations. I've reshuffled this and played with it and tried the different aspects for impact so many times. This seminar is probably, it's about 1 decade in the making. So to get what you're going to get here this weekend, it took me a decade to come up with it. To get the free tour, the 7 hours of content I recorded yesterday, I did in one sitting. You see? But that seminar yesterday is still a quality 8. Nothing prepped. And by the way, here's where it gets weirder. Let's add on to that. The seminar that I created yesterday is the quality 8 of my potential. But that seminar yesterday, because I speak so much, is probably at a higher level than most people's paid programs. So it's an 8 for me. Why is it at a higher level? What do you think? Because I teach all the time. When you teach all the time and create content all the time, your throwaway is probably going to be better than the person that just sat there working on the one thing because you're just releasing all the time. And here's what's funny. This is a Seth Godin concept. Seth Godin said that in our day and age in marketing, what we should be doing is we can't be like mating, like in this like monogamous, like this isn't real, but just in as an analogy for business. He said we don't want to be mating monogamously, raising the one baby. We want to be more like a dandelion, shooting spores all over the city. And out of all those spores that you shoot out, somewhere there's going to be a little dandelion that will grow up from that. What he was saying was if you put out piles of content, you don't know which one is going to be the one that blows up. Out of all the content that I put out, the videos that did 1 million+ views, it was always the videos I didn't think it would be. It was never, I was never like, this is going to be the one that gets super popular. In fact, the ones that I like the most are probably a little bit denser. They actually are usually less popular. So the more content that you put out, the more likely you are to have that smash hit that goes viral. If you're always creating and releasing, and Seth Godin calls it shipping, just say the word ship. Okay, he says, creators ship. Say that. Creators ship. Yeah, you're shipping all the time. You're just in momentum. See, my great musical idol was Dr. Dre. But then Kanye West came out, and Kanye was one of the first people that was just always making tracks, right? Dre was so much better than Kanye for a long time, so much better. But I believe that Kanye went past Dre, even though Dre was the innovator, because Dre just he just wasn't shipping. He got out of the habit of shipping and just releasing. You want to be in what's called shipping momentum. Say that word, shipping momentum. Okay? So in the same way with, say, meeting people, if I'm out meeting people all the time, I don't need to do this perfect, scripted way of meeting people. I'm going to go out, I'm going to improvise, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to meet a ton of people, and what's going to happen is, if I'm just meeting all these people all the time, I'm going to wind up meeting somebody, and they're going to like think I'm the best person ever, because I just met so many people. If I'm putting out videos, putting myself in front of tons of people, there's going to be a lot of people that don't like it, but some will. So it's just a momentum. Say the word momentum. Okay? So let's dial it back then again, full circle. So this exercise right now, it's just about like, look at the mindsets that I'm instilling in you here. It's not about getting the perfect description of your drive to work. It's not about that. It's just get that quality 8. It doesn't need to be, like you can write it out and write out a whole script on your drive here and then change the words around and da-da-da. Or we could just kind of run through it and just sort of see how it goes. You could just kind of quickly motor through it and see how it proceeds by just speaking in a way that's kind of charismatic. Just put an emphasis on the charisma and being free associative. By me doing it this way, I knew that I could make unlimited content for the rest of my life. And here's the best part, by the way. I can still do the once every 3-year project too. I can be doing my improvisational content for YouTube or social media, but I can still dedicate several hours a day to that perfect passion project that I release once every 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. When I did Hot Seat at Home, I worked on that for almost a decade. And when I did Blueprint, I worked on that for 4 years. I was still working on that while I was releasing my 8 out of 10 content. And then, like I said, when you're always shipping, your version of an 8 is another person's 10 because you're doing it all the time. You're in momentum. You're going to become better at what you're doing than other people anyway. My version of meeting someone, say there's someone I'm attracted to, I want to go meet them, my throwaway version of an approach is better than most people's ones that they planned. Way better, by the way. Why is that? Because I'm approaching all the time. My version at this point of a throwaway approach where I barely talk, I don't even do that much, is going to create more attraction in most cases than the person that sat at home thinking about it all the time. So it's like the momentum actually makes life easier. The momentum makes life more fun. And you always want to be in that momentum, all right? So let's track in the exercise. Get in groups of 4 to 5, take about 2 to 3 minutes each, and describe your drive here, okay? And let's do it in a way where if you're a social media influencer, or if you're out meeting people, networking, people you're attracted to, whatever it is, that what you're doing is you're just learning how to talk and just create dialogue, okay? Let's try that now. Hop up, let's get into it. We'll spend about 15, 20 minutes on this, okay? 2 to 3 minutes per person. It'll be about 15 to 20 minutes. What you did there, the fundamental key to it is that you're uncoupling the emotion from the content. Say this with me. Uncoupling the emotion from the content. So what I mean by that is that most people think if you got abducted by an alien, the way that, like, if you got abducted by an alien, how would you probably show the content or the emotion of that? Show me.
Okay, so just last night, this massive frisbee.
Okay, yeah, that's decent. Probably you'd be shrieking and crying too, right? Now, say that you said, you know, I walked across the street and it took me a minute to walk across the street. How would you say that?
Took me a minute to cross the street.
Okay, now do the opposite. Show me the opposite.
Opposite. Okay, so just taking right foot, left foot.
Okay, so no, watch this, okay? So if I say the opposite, I love what you're doing. Let me show you the opposite. Say I got abducted by an alien in the tone and emotion of crossing the street. Show me that.
Okay, so I'm walking down the street, literally turn left, freaking car.
Right, so he's doing the alien abduction tone on the boring walking across the street. Now let's flip that, okay? Show me that you got abducted, but in the crossing the street tone.
There was a light, and I flew up.
Okay, you guys got the idea here, right? So, okay. So, if you want to be very dynamic in front of a group, what you could do is you could take things that are boring and you can make it more dynamic. Even look at what I'm saying now. How would most people say what I just said? Yeah, if you want to be dynamic in front of a group, you could just stretch it out. That's how most people look when they public speak. Don't doubt yourself. I'll bring up 10 of you. Most of you will look like that. Or if you try harder, you'll look like a tryhard. You'll be like, so, to be dynamic, right? So you're either going too try hard or you're going not enough energy into it. You're usually going to deviate towards one or the other. That's where you're going to be at. So it's about uncoupling the tone, okay? So what we're going to do next is I want to show you how to change your tone by simply picking a lot of different tones, okay? So I'll bring you up here. Come stand here. So I'll show you some some simple different tones that you could use here, okay? Let's go, let's say that I said, here, I'll put that there. Let's say I said to you, like look at the different ways that you could stretch it out, okay? So say I say the word stretch it out. Say the word stretch it out just like normal, like this will probably explode.
Stretch it out.
Just say like stretch it out, just say that.
Stretch it out.
Okay, stretch it out. Okay, cool. Okay, now I'm gonna get you to say stretch it out, but I'm gonna get you to extend the word. Say stretch it out. Do that. Take your hands out of your pockets.
Stretch it out.
We'll leave that over here. That kombucha's stretching it out. So, white shirt, easy come, easy go, baby. Okay, so, okay. Stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. Do that.
Stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out.
Okay. Stretch it out.
Oh.
Give me that one.
Right. Stretch it out.
You're gonna stretch that thing out. Show me that.
Stretch that motherfucker out.
Okay. Okay. You're just gonna stretch it out. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of stretch. A little bit of stretch. Show me that.
Stretch it out just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Stretch it out.
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 You're gonna stretch it out.
You're gonna stretch it out.
Use an emphasis. You. You're like this. You. You.
You.
You. You.
You.
Show me the one you did before. You.
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 Like more aggressive.
More aggressive?
You.
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 Hey, you're gonna stretch it out.
You're gonna stretch it out.
Okay? You're going to stretch it out.
You are going to stretch it out.
Okay, so I'll get you guys to do this with me, okay? We're gonna do it together. You guys will copy me right now, okay? You. You. You.
You. You.
You are gonna stretch it out. You're gonna stretch it out. It's so chill, guys. Simple. You're just going to stretch it out. Easy. Just stretch it. Anybody could do it. You're going to dig deep. And whatever it takes, no matter how hard it is, you're going to stretch it out. Okay, so what we're learning here is how to be dynamic, okay? You can take the same verbiage and you can use different levels of charisma to play with it and to get it to be more compelling is really what you're doing here, okay? So you're going to make it very compelling by playing with it. Most people, they're not playing with it. They're not using lateral thinking. They're not thinking about their delivery. So in the first exercise, what we did was we talked about our drive here, and we just said it was some conviction. Now let's take that same thing, the conviction, and why don't we make it where you're going to add in everything from happy, extra rage, maybe a light fluffiness, simplicity, and ease. It's hard. You've got to push through. Add some singing, up talk singing, down talk singing. Add staccato, right? Like you can go long or you could go short. You're going to stretch it out. You're going to stretch it out. Do that with me. You're going to stretch it out. You're going to stretch it out. You are going to stretch it out. Okay, so we can add being dynamic into it, okay? And again, we're uncoupling the emotion from the content. Okay, we're going to divorce the emotion from the content. Look how I'm speaking right now. Most people, they say, yeah, you can use like a different content from the emotion, okay? Okay, guys, so you can use a different content from the emotion. That's how they're doing it. Look how I'm speaking. I'm like, you're going to divorce the emotion from the content. I'm bringing energy into it and pushing presence and passion and electricity into it. We'll get to that later. I'm using different cadence, different staccato. You see what's happening here. So let's do this together. Do the stretch it out exercise. Each person take your turn and go for 2 minutes on different cadence, energy, and emotion on the word stretch it out. Hop up. Let's get into it. Okay.